I'm recording this meeting today, and I will be sending out the recording later this afternoon. So you can feel free to take notes, but you're also going to receive the recording later this afternoon. So don't worry too much if you miss something. So I'm going to make Stephanie's video, the spotlight video. So all we see is her. And Stephanie, ready to go? You're on.
Yes. Do you see, are my slides up?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, hello everyone. I'm Stephanie Arnheim, and today I'm going to share with you some networking strategies that you can take and use right away. Thank you, Renee, for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here, and I want to thank you for taking the time to be here. You have my commitment that I'll do everything I can to make sure today is worth your time. Let's go over a couple easy FAQs. As Renee mentioned, you can put questions on during the chat, during my presentation, and use the chat feature. If you would like to use some guided notes, I've made a worksheet that you can download and print off. It's just a simple one-page document that'll guide along the presentation. And if not, you can pen and paper is totally fine. But that's just a thing. Please, Renee, if you could put that in the chat if it's not showing, so people can download it if they want to. All right, well, let's get started. Since we're going to be spending the next half hour together, do you mind if I tell you a little bit about myself? I'm Stephanie Arnheim, Portland's networking expert. I'm also a business networking strategist and master connector with my company, Stephanie Connects. Now, I'd like to tell you a little bit about why I'm here today. I didn't start off being a speaker or a networker. I started off as a health coach and a teacher and a real estate entrepreneur. And then I decided to go full-time entrepreneur. And here's what I discovered. I'm a bit of an introvert and I'm shy. I've always liked people, but I learned that networking was very important. So I focused on learning all about it. I took workshops, I read books, and then I watched what successful networkers were doing, and I practiced those successful habits, and I talked to them. And I took it to the next level when I decided to become managing director of an organization called eWomen Network, which is an international women's networking organization. And I became managing director of the Portland chapter. And over time, I became a networking expert, and I want to share with you some of my secrets today that you can use even in this virtual time. Now, when I was the managing director of eWomen Network, that role was all about the power of connection, building relationships, and creating a supportive community for entrepreneurs. Now, after several years of cultivating my relationship building techniques, this was the perfect opportunity for me to put them to the test. I had started Stephanie Connects just before I became managing director of eWomen, so I was running two businesses at the same time. I don't know about you, especially if you're in the startup world, it definitely is quite a challenge to do two businesses at the same time, and you might have done that before you started your companies. So it was truly a time of discovery and professional development. Now let's fast forward 4 years, and when I did eWomen Network for 4 years, and the chapter exploded through networking. We earned awards and growth, but I was ready to move on. And so I decided to make Stephanie Connects be my full-time gig. So Stephanie Connects is my company, and I focus on helping entrepreneurs build successful referral-based businesses. Now for today, I'm going to share with you some tools and strategies to making authentic connections and creating power partners. I'm also going to throw in some virtual networking tips because that's where we're at these days, and I think it's really important to make sure we're clear on all of those. Now let's talk about word of mouth, because networking is marketing. And what makes word of mouth an effective marketing strategy? Well, think about it this way. If your product or service is relationship-based, it makes sense to have a relationship-based marketing approach. There's no need for an online marketing empire, though that can work too. But why is it effective? It's effective because business is personal, and we need to build those relationships in order to have a solid business. Now, when you're building a business, there's really one important thing you need to understand. Networking is relationship building. It's not about sales. It can lead to sales if it's done right. But your main objective is really to build relationships. And networking is a learned behavior. It definitely was for me. But once you learn it, once you practice it, once you get into the habit, then it becomes more natural. And all of this can be done virtually. I miss the in-person, but this is where we're at these days. So in order to build relationships, we need to know the types of people that we want to connect with. Now, most people can go to a networking event, whether it's online or in person, and they're going to look for their ideal clients. But successful networkers set a goal of finding power partners. Now, I use the term power partners, and it is interchangeable. You may have heard of referral partners or strategic partners. Any of those terms are fine to use. I'm going to use power partners for today just to keep things clear. Now, when you're at a networking event, whether it's virtual or in person, is it possible to meet your ideal client? Yes, it does sometimes happen, but more often than not, when you're only looking for clients, you may be missing out on bigger opportunities and bigger payoffs. So I encourage you to look more for power partners. Now, even today on the call, you may see a name or someone that you've been wanting to meet, and they could be a potential power partner. So that's great. So let's look at an example, the difference between finding a client at an event or a power partner. So if you're at an event and you find a client, and from that you get a sale, say $500, great. You made a sale and you earned $500. However, if at the same event you met a power partner that you connected with, and over the course of, say, 6 months, you helped them connect with 3 clients, that's $1,500. That's just an example and a conservative one, but as you can see, a client will only pay you once, but a power partner can help bring you clients on a regular basis. So that's where the power of a power partner and the power of networking can be very beneficial for your business. Now, one example I have also was there was a chiropractor I was working with. She didn't know where to network or who to talk to or even what to say. So I introduced her to some power partners that I knew through my Wing Women program, and she's gotten multiple clients from the relationships that she's developed by being strategic about it. Now let's drill down a little further into what is a power partner. Now, a power partner is a person who can expand your sphere of influence. They can be a resource, and they may have a degree of connection to your clients. And the key part is they often serve the same type of client as you. So I want you to think about that from that, especially that last part, is who do they serve? Is it the same type of person? Now, this is where we're going to take some time here. Who are your power partners? Now, take a moment and think about who would be a good power partner for you. And this is this goes to the guided notes if you're working along with those. I want you to think about and write down possibly some 3 names of people or 3 types of businesses. So that's your first step, is to identify the type of business that a power partner is in. Remember that they often serve the same type of client as you. So I'll give you some examples here. In the outside of the biotech world, say you're a realtor. A realtor's power partners would be a mortgage broker, a title company, a contractor, possibly interior designer, insurance. Any of those people would be good power partners. It's good to build a power partner team of like 3 to 4 people that you have on your power partner team. That way you you always can stay top of mind of them. Now, as I mentioned, the chiropractor, the type of people that the chiropractor I introduced her to, a massage therapist, a naturopath, a health coach, any of those physical therapists, all of those are different types of people. Now, I took, with Renee's help too, is I looked at your, the Otrati startups, and I made up some power partner lists based on the people that some of the companies that you have. So for instance, there's a company called Caregiving, and I don't know if you're on the call. If you are, put yourself in the chat here. It's from what I read, it does digital health services for end-of-life services, end-of-life, and they help the administrative side, and they deal it for companies and their employees. So in my opinion, some of their power partners might be HR consultants, because they want to drive the companies that have employees, possibly grief counselors, marriage family counselors. Those might be good potential power partners. Another one, RX home test. This was someone that they guide lab tests at home. So potential power partners for them might be assisted living centers, elder care companies, naturopaths, or private health clinics. So that's an example of two of them. I'd like to take a moment and have you figure out who are your power partners. And if anyone has any questions about that or wants to share, please unmute yourself, and or if you know how to raise a hand, go ahead and do that. I'd love to hear. And Renee, you can help monitor that.
Stephanie, it's Renee. We did have a question from Nina, and she's asking, what do you do if your superiors are competitors rather than power partners? How do you negotiate that when you still have to report to them while you're growing and expanding your own work and career goals? And Nina, if you want to unmute yourself and expand upon your question, please do so.
Yeah, I'd like to know a little bit more, Nina. If they're your superiors, I would think you're on the same page, but they're competitors or power partners. There's a big difference there. Is she there?
I'm not seeing Nina. I'm not seeing her name. Oh, there she is. Nina, are you there?
Well, we can.
No, we can't hear you, Nina. Sorry, I don't see your audio. Perhaps you can type your question in the expand upon your question in the chat.
Yeah. In the meanwhile, are there other people who'd like to give an example of power partners that they've come up with for their companies? Who would like to share? Do we have a shy group today?
Yeah, I think we do. If anyone wants to share, unmute yourself.
I see someone trying or something. No?
So Nina added that some fields are competitive.
Yes.
So your power partners could become your competitors.
That's true. Yes. So we'll keep exploring then. I mean, but actually, this is the interesting thing. I'm going to take it away from the biotech world. So I'll give you a perfect example of power partners within the same industry. And this is totally true. When I was running eWomen, I had 3 website designers in my group. Now, initially I was thinking, well, they're all competitors. But when they met with each other, they found that each of them had different focuses. So I do feel it's important to still have that conversation with that person, because they could potentially actually not be competition, but someone who you might like to give business to. So for example, one of the website designers liked to work with large corporations. The other one liked to work on a one-on-one with the entrepreneurs, like solopreneurs. And the other one liked to do small businesses. or it dealt with more of the design and less of the details. So they ended up actually often giving business to each other when they would meet people that didn't fit their demographic. So I would encourage you to still have a conversation with the people, get very clear and see where is it that you're different, that you could still work together, but, or maybe not, but I would keep looking. But there isn't, it doesn't mean even if they're in the same field that they are a competition. They could be a power partner.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to continue on, and feel free, we'll have time at the end to share about, you know, your power partners as we go along.
Oh, one more question from Nina. Do you use power partners as references?
It can be, absolutely. If you've done business with them, like for instance, the chiropractor, I mean, she's gotten quite a bit of business from power partners. So they're actually your marketing team, because they become part of your marketing team because they're referring you. So they are perfect people to mention to a client. It kind of is like you know, you have a physical therapist or acupuncturist and a chiropractor are definitely two that work together. And they end up giving recommendations to each other and referrals to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Good questions. So now that you know, you're getting an idea about who to connect with, that's your goal. Think about who you're going to reach out to, in this case, virtually, to have a conversation, because that's where we're at. So why do we want to do one-on-ones? Well, there's a lot of reasons to do one-on-ones. One is it keeps you top of mind with that person. It helps build strong relationships. It creates definitely a much more solid connection. And I like this last point a lot because it does give you new ideas. When you're talking with someone, a lot of times they'll say something and that may cause you to think, well, that would be a good idea. I should explore that further. So it does re-energize you. And in this day and age when we're at home or we're working pretty on our own, this is a great way to feel more re-energized. I make it a goal of doing at least one-on-one a week. Ideally, I mean, this week I know I have 2 or 3 already scheduled for later this week. So when you do a one-on-one, what kind of questions to ask? How do you determine if the person is a good power partner for you? You can do this by asking relationship building questions, because every business is built on relationships and you can't live without them. Relationship building questions are a great way to accelerate the process of getting to know people better, and so that they will know, like, and trust you. Because remember, people need to know, like, and trust you before they're going to send you referrals, before they're going to buy from you, before they'll even acknowledge, about your business. So as I mentioned, there was an acupuncturist that I knew that was having trouble finding a good fit, and she reached out to her power team, and she said she was looking for another acupuncturist, but she had a very specific niche that she liked to work with. And she put it out to her power team, and they were able to connect the right kind of fit for her and build her practice. So think about it from that way. It's a strategic way to build your business. Now, examples of relationship building questions, there's different kinds of questions, and they're either personal, they're conversation starters, they show and create interest, and they can deepen your conversation. The question, I'm not a fan of what do you do, because that's like a question everybody asks. I want to get deeper into that. I want to understand, is this a person that I would feel comfortable working with, or even referring others to as well? Because remember, it's a reciprocal process. So these are some of my favorite questions to use in one-on-ones. How did you get started in your business? I love to hear their story. It's the history, and it tells you a lot about the person too. What do you like best about what you do? Everybody remembers either a bad client or bad service that they've gotten. So it's nice to hear something positive. And the same with share a recent success story. We always remember the most difficult person to work with, but let's talk about something positive. what types of professionals make the best power partners for you? And you may need to define power partners because not everybody, definitely, they may not know it. So you can use referral partner or strategic partner when you're talking about it. And especially in the biotech world, it might be strategic partner. It just depends. It depends on how long has the person been in business and how well are they comfortable at networking. Describe your ideal client. And then one of my favorite questions is, who is a good connection for you? And this question is going to help you with the follow-up and help you really deepen your conversation. It's a very important one. If you have some favorite one-on-one questions that you like to use when you're meeting with someone, feel free to share them in the chat. These, by all means, these aren't the only ones, but these are definitely ones to build the conversation and really get a good beginning understanding to what they're talking about. Now, you want to build trust with thoughtful follow-up, and from the one-on-one, you can decide if you want to get to know them better. They could be a possible power partner, they could be a possible client, or they just could be a good resource for you. They could be a potential mentor too. It just depends on the level. So you want to be open to all of those choices when you're doing your one-on-one. Is which bucket do they fit? Are they a power partner? Are they a client? Are they a resource? Are they a mentor?
Stephanie, we have a question from Emmanuel. It goes right along with what you're talking about here.
Oh, good.
He asks, the first time that you meet a power partner, how do you start the conversation without making them feel that you're just in it for yourself?
Well, it's very important. It's a great question because remember, they wouldn't have agreed to meet with you unless they have an interest. I would certainly hope so. So know that you both are on the same level, and you can make it clear, I really want to know more about what you do or more about your company, because there might be a way that we could work together. That's a great way to open the conversation. And actually, you're probably saying that ahead of time when you're setting up the meeting. You're sending them an email. Like, say you see one on the call and there's someone, or you've met someone and you've been wanting to follow up with, but you haven't for some time. And because we've been busy, but now with COVID and we're at home more, this might be a time to reach out to someone that you haven't talked to in a while. And you can be honest, be very clear about your purpose. My purpose is to learn more about what you do and see if there's a way we could work together. Does that answer the question? You can answer.
Emmanuel, if you'd like to open your microphone, if you have anything more to add, please do so.
Thanks for the response.
Okay, great. Now with you've set up your meeting, you've identified your power partner, you've set your meeting, you've had the meeting, and now what? This is where people fall down. It's the follow-up. And this what I would say is the most critical part. And most people don't do it. I would say probably 90% of the people won't make the time to do it. But I guarantee you will get the results if you do the follow-up. And what does that mean? Well, when you're setting up your call, you can do a Zoom call. If you're feeling zoomed out, I don't know about you, but I've been having a lot of Zoom meetings lately. There's nothing wrong with just doing a phone call with someone. You can you use email to stay in contact with them afterwards, but also connect on social media. LinkedIn is the #1 place for business for interacting with people. So make sure you've connected with them on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. That's up to you. It depends on what you feel most comfortable, but definitely LinkedIn. And then you can also connect with them. You may run into them, well, at future lunch and learns or other Otrati events. Definitely, when you start seeing people and they raise your interest, that's when it's time to connect with them. So these are different ways to connect. Now, what are you going to connect with? You've met with them now, and then afterwards, how do you stay in touch? And this is one of the questions I get asked a lot, because they say, well, I've met with them and I don't know what to do. Well, if they're a potential, either one, resource, client, power partner, you always want to thank them, of course. And I say, of course, but you would be amazed at the number of people that don't get thanked. And ideally, I love a handwritten note. Now, in this day and age, it may take a little more effort because you may not have an address, but I haven't found anyone who hasn't been able to like send a quick email or something and said, you know, hi, Jane, it was great to meet with you. I'd love to send you a note, a personal note. Can I get your address? No one have I ever found has not given an address, but it's totally fine to do an email one because of timing. Some people are curing their mail before they open it. That's totally understandable in this virtual time. So these are other ways that you can connect about, and you can do this on email, on LinkedIn, on all different ways. Appreciate an insight that they shared with you. If there was something about in the conversation that came up that you really respected about them, that's the great time to tell them about it. If you have an article on a topic that you find that you read that you think they might be interested in, this is the perfect time to send it. And I would say you send this like a week or two, or whenever you come up with it. One of my power partners is a career coach, and she does an amazing newsletter. And whenever she has articles, and I've given talks to job seekers groups too, I will send a copy of one of her articles to the person that I presented to, because I just think it's good. It's good karma, and it's helpful knowledge in this day and age. There's so much going on that if you get a personal note from someone to let them know that you're thinking about them, you stay top of mind. And so when an opening or something comes up, you're going to be the first one they think about. So there's a method to this madness. There's a strategic way. And then make an introduction to a resource or a referral. So for instance, I do email introductions. So when I'm doing one-on-ones and I'm talking to the person, and I ask the question like, who would be a good connection for you? And they mention someone like a marketing person might be looking for a graphics person or a writer. I will connect them. I'll do an email introduction with someone that they're looking for. So think about it from your aspect is, who do you think might like a good connection? And that's a great way to stay top of mind, because I have what we call, you want to create touch points. And touch points are every time you meet or interact with someone, it helps build that trust where they know, like, and trust you. And you have to build 7 to 20 touch points before someone will like to do business with you. That's a fact. Now, touch points are, today, this is our first touch point. Say we connect on email, that's another touch point. Say we do a one-on-one, that's a third touch point. So see, it takes a while to build. I connect with you on LinkedIn, that's another touch point. So it takes those 7 to 20 touch points before someone will know, like, and trust you to do business. So think about, the follow-ups that you've done and how beneficial it is. And if you haven't done it, don't beat yourself up, but I guarantee you'll get some better results by doing it. And this is critical step that I find to doing follow-up is do it within 24 to 48 hours after you have had your one-on-one, and then track your follow-ups. I use a very simple spreadsheet. I have used different CRMs. I keep shopping CRMs, whatever works best for you. It is the most important thing is to track it, because you're tracking the other touch points that you do. And I have one that I've created, a free one that I'll offer that I can give to you that I'll tell you about at the end of my presentation. Now let's talk, I was talking with Renee and Casey before we got on the call today about Zoom and how prevalent it is. So I'm just going to go over some easy Zoom tips to make sure you have a successful call. Do your research before the call. Now, I put on my calendar, for instance, I have a 4 o'clock one-on-one today. And I put in, for the half hour before my call, I put in to do research. I'm going to look at the person's website. I'm going to look at their LinkedIn page. I may look at Facebook if I want. I want to make sure I have a better understanding about their business before I have the call, especially if it's a first time that I've talked to the person. I like to, if it's a Zoom call, get on early. Bandwidth issues seem to be abounding these days. First impressions matter. You know, it's nice to look nice, look at your background, make sure that, you know, you don't, if it's a huge messy area, it's like shift your camera, do something, you know, at least dress from the waist up so that people can see that you're taking time to care about the call. Record the call is a great way to do it too, because that way you can not have to worry about taking copious notes all the time. If you want to go back and listen, then it's easy. And I put about pay the kids to leave you alone and put the dog outside, because inevitably interruptions happen and you want to stay focused on that. Now, even if you're on the phone, I still would encourage you to ask the kids to give you some space and put the dog outside. Though I heard from Casey that her dog was howling still, but if you have some other favorite Zoom tips, and I have some other ones too that I'll share with you later. So here's a quick review of some of the things that we've covered today. How to make authentic connections virtually by building those relationships, creating solid power partners, using different virtual networking tips, follow-up, and Zoom tips for your business. Now I have a challenge that I'd like you to do, and I'm going to, let me see. Well, I'll give it to you in just a minute. We'll do the questions first before I show you your challenge. Renee, are there any questions?
There is one comment regarding the recording of calls.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that you would want to get the person's permission before you record.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And on Zoom, the good thing about recording on Zoom is it shows that it's recording.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that is one thing. I use freeconferencecall.com for my phone. It's a free, I've used it for years. It's a free conference call line. You have the option of recording it, and I will ask them, and it will play a message to say your call is being recorded. So yes, always ask permission. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, good. These are some really good tips and a lot of things that people might not have thought about ahead of time. Doing research on the person that you're about to have a call with is super important, but I think there's a lot of people who don't do that.
Right. They just kind of wing it. And I'll tell you, when we're in person at networking events, I still do my research before I go to a networking event. And that's when I may look at the Facebook page, because if I see someone that I've met before, but I don't know that well, and I happen to notice and you can see online usually who are participants of a meeting, because they've all RSVP'd, and so it often has a list. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. But if you know there's going to be certain people there, I often will take a look quickly, like at Facebook or LinkedIn, to see if they posted an interesting article. I may say, hey, I happened to see your article that you put on LinkedIn. That was really interesting. I found that was really helpful. Or if it's a Facebook something, I say, oh, I see your kid graduated from college. And I'll tell you, that goes a long way to building your credibility, because people are impressed that you took the time to focus and get to know them. And that will build your credibility quite a bit.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so let me go to your action step. I would like you to come up with 3 people that would be good possible power partners. I'd like you to reach out to them and set a call. Now, when I say reach out to them, I personally prefer if you could phone call, then you don't do the email back and forth. If you prefer email, that's fine. But with the email, I would give them 3 choices of times. So for instance, I'd say, today is Wednesday. If you reached out to them, I would say, with Thursday at 3, Friday at 9, and then give them a one time for next week too. And say, I would like to have a call with you. And then of course, follow up. So take some time, and while you're thinking about that, I want to give you one more thing. I want you to take away my help. I want you to take away my advice. I want you to take away my guidance. But here's something else that I can offer you that you can't get anywhere else. What I can offer you is to help you show up in the world and help you figure out how to talk about your business, who to talk to, and figure out that specific path to connect you with those that will help you move forward in your business. That's my gift for you. Now also, I'm a very practical person. So as I mentioned earlier, follow-up is a critical step to getting referrals and clients and building your Power Partner team. So I've created a super simple spreadsheet that you can download and use. It's totally free. And if you already have a system, great. The key is using it. It doesn't matter if you use my spreadsheet or your CRM or your spreadsheet, but it's using it. And I'll show you how to get to this shortly. I wanted to give you something else, and it's kind of a hidden gem. It's what to do with all those business cards. Now, more than any other time is the time to reach out to those people who are stuck at home. And if there ever is a time to need to look at that stack of business cards that you might have, and you've picked up along the way, it's a perfect time to go through it now. So I have a special working from home package. And for those of you who accept my offer of a networking strategy session, you're going to get the business cards as well as another power up to help you. So my working from home package includes the 30-minute networking strategy call that's focused on your specific networking challenge. It's recorded, of course, with permission, and then the 2 bonuses. And the bonuses are the virtual networking tips as well as my top 5 business card tips ebook. And it's something that you can use again and again. And I also publish a monthly newsletter, no spam, that gives you tangible networking tips. And it should be coming out next week, hopefully. And if you'd like to sign up for that, you'll have a chance to. So this is the place where you can get the free download, or if you'd like to do the strategy call. The strategy call is only $27. It's my gift for you, especially in these times. You can go to this link to either sign up for the free newsletter and spreadsheet, and if you'd like, you can do the strategy session too. So my other question, we can talk about what are the biggest takeaways that you had. I want to acknowledge the time that you've given to invest in yourself and be on this call, and I support you in building your business. I know we've covered a lot of different things, and I'd like to take a few moments to hear from you. What were your biggest takeaways from our time together today? So Renee.
Stephanie, yeah, hi. Stephanie, we have a question from Emmanuel. He owns one of our OBI incubator companies. And so he's asking, given the focus of OBI on biotech companies, could you share specific examples in your experience of connecting with power partners in the biotech space? For example, his company is a therapeutics company. Okay. And Emmanuel, if you want to open your microphone up and add any more to that, please go ahead.
There's nothing else to add. I just want to wait for Stephanie to,
well, one of my questions when you say therapeutics is like, who are you serving? Who would buy from you? And who else would use your type of services? That's where I would suggest you focus on for you said therapeutics, correct?
That's correct, yes.
So who are you selling to?
Well, most likely biopharma for what we do in terms of out licensing or products, basically. And of course, part of our goal as a startup is to identify potential, investors, so those are the kind of connections somebody will want to make in my space. Just wondering how you would suggest trying to identify those people without
Right.
making them feel like you're just there to get what they have.
Right. Well, you may be doing, it's almost like a cross between an informational interview and a one-on-one in terms of it may be, are you mainly looking for investors?
Yes, that's part of the goal, investors as well as collaborations and partnerships with biopharma.
So I would look at who are the other biopharma companies that you know of, and this is where the research comes in. You may need to do some key research, and then ask other companies in your space, especially within the incubator space, as to who are they connecting with. And that's what's great about OBI is you guys all have each other. So this is a time for collaboration, and it may be meeting with each other, well, now virtually, as to find out who is in your space, who's been working, who do you work well with. I mean, this is asking them, who do you work well with, who would be open, who do you think might be open to talking to us about either their potential investors or other similar companies who might be interested in learning more about what you do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So the next question is, when do you know when to stop bugging a potential power partner?
There's never a stop. My team is always evolving. But you don't want to get too big. You don't, because that's when it gets, then you won't really find it beneficial. So as I said, like 3 to 4 power partners is good, but you're being strategic about it. So you are limiting in terms of how much you want to interact with them. So if they are someone that you feel comfortable and you can have a regular conversation and there's give and take on both sides, then you keep them on your power team. If there's someone that feels like, if you feel like you gave them that information or they gave you the information, you don't feel that reciprocity going, that's a time you thank them and move on and find a new power partner. So you don't want to get, because mentally in our brains, we really only can keep a certain amount of people top of mind regularly. You have different levels of connections. You have your core connection, then you have your warm, oh, here comes my cat. I knew she'd do this. Sorry. She likes my calls. So you're always evolving your team to make sure that it evolves to the people that you want to stay top of mind and that you want them to keep you top of mind. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Well, thank you for the information. I appreciate it.
Sure. And it takes time and it takes patience, and that's why the follow-up is so key, because you're always vetting these people. You're vetting, and as I see it, Emmanuel, you have 2 different ones. You got the investor group, which is your power partner team, and then you have the other pharma, which is your other, it's like a sub power partner team. And they serve different purposes, and that's totally fine. It doesn't have to be grouped into one. It can be grouped into 2 different areas because your company needs the financing, but then you also have the research and development side and building your product and reaching the right clients. So that's one of the things I would definitely say.
Thank you.
I'm gonna stop this here. So then my cat won't be on the call anymore. Well, no, she is. So.
You got a cute kitty cat.
Oh, well, thank you. She's she is part of the team. She's part of my power team, aren't you, Matilda? This is Matilda.
Does anyone else have any questions for Stephanie? And while we're waiting for someone to put questions in the chat, we have a couple of poll questions to put up that I meant to do one at the very start of the session. And the first question is that we want to find out where everyone is from. Casey, are you going to put up the, there it goes. So if you could answer where you're joining from, and it's anonymous. We just want to see where everyone is. We'll leave that up for about a minute. And if anyone has questions for Stephanie, please put them in the chat. We'll leave that up for just a little bit longer so everybody has a chance to fill out the polling question.
Yeah, I'm just reading some of the chat because I couldn't see it during the call. And, you know, in terms of the recording of a call, of course, it's optional. It's just an easier way to take notes sometimes. That's all.
Okay, we'll leave this poll up for just a second longer. If you haven't polled yet, please do so. And we'll go ahead and close this now. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So it looks like most people are in the Portland area, but we've got one person who's within Oregon, but outside Portland. It's just always fun to see where people are joining us. So thank you for sharing. And does anyone have any other questions for Stephanie? You can feel free to open up your microphone and ask. I don't see anything else in the chat at the moment. Stephanie, as someone who's done quite a bit of networking myself, it is at the beginning, it is kind of scary, and especially if it's outside your comfort zone and you are doing it for the first time and maybe don't know where to start. But you're very right that with practice and with just putting yourself out there over and over and over again, it gets a lot easier.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's a learned behavior. It was for me, and even, you know, to this day, I mean, now that we're doing virtual, it takes a different set of comfort level to do it by Zoom or by phone. Matter of fact, I was asked to do a one-on-one, and I knew I had a lot of Zoom calls that day, and so I asked them, can we just do it by phone? Because it wasn't the first time that I was meeting that person. And I was just like, I just don't feel like being on all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. I still do the same prep for it. It's just a matter of doing what is most comfortable for you, because it takes practice, and with the right questions, you can feel most comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Renee, for having me today. If anyone else has any questions, Renee's going to send out my contact info. The key is, you know, for you to feel comfortable. I hope that you learn some networking strategies that you can take and use right away in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to put one more poll up on the screen for post-program feedback. If you would please fill that out for us, that would be most appreciated. And Stephanie, we really, really appreciate all your great information today and some things that people may not have known or had forgotten about. And especially when we are learning to network in this more virtual world than in person, we do things a little bit differently. There's some things that are the same and other things that are different. And we really appreciate your including some of the Zoom rules in addition to regular networking information.
Yeah, as you can see, you can't put the dog outside. I mean, you can put the dog outside, but the cat's going to do what the cat wants. Yeah.
Cat's going to do what the cat wants. Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to let everybody know that I will be sending out the recording later on this afternoon. It takes Zoom a little bit of time to pull the recording together, and then they'll send me a link, and I will send it out to everyone on the call and everyone who registered. And I'll also include Stephanie's contact information in case you have any questions of her or would like to meet with her one-on-one. So with that, I just want to thank everybody for attending today. We really appreciate it. And we hope you go forth and do lots of networking.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
That is
Thanks,
great.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.